Okay, so what you're seeing here is a coop burn, and this is a logging burn, and you can see the slash being burned. You'll see a helicopter now coming in on the right hand side with a bucket underneath it, and what you'll notice in a minute is a stream of napalm like substances coming out of the back, and that is what ignites the forest. The helicopter flying off there onto the left, and now as we pan up you can just see this massive volume of smoke heading up into the upper atmosphere. So you can head over to the Forest Fire Management website, ffm.vic.gov.au, and you can look at all of the planned burns that are coming up. Here we're looking at the current burns that were taking place on the 27th of March, and I've numbered these from 1 to 26. So if you click one of the pins on the map and then drill in and look at this yellow area, you'll see timber harvesting regeneration. That's what differentiates a logging burn as opposed to a fuel reduction burn. So if we take the details from each of those pins, put them into a table like this, we can see all of the fuel reduction burns add up to about 1,529 hectares in column D. Otherwise, the logging regeneration burns in column E add up to about 302 hectares. Now, researchers have sort of found that the amount of material that's burned in a fuel reduction burn is about 9 tonnes per hectare. The logging regeneration burns about 135 tonnes per hectare, and that's because there's just so much slash and material left on the ground. If you multiply all that out, it's about 54,000 tonnes of material being burnt, and about 75% of that in this instance was coming from industrial logging burns. And this is very common. The last couple of years it's usually the case that it's mostly coming from logging burns in autumn and spring. Someone who was flying past actually captured the burns out of the window of their aeroplane, and you can see them, the smoke going up into the atmosphere. So the next thing that happened was that the wind started to change direction, and you can see on Saturday the 28th it swings a bit more northeasterly, and the smoke got blown into Healesville and down into Mooroolbark. Now we can head over to the Vic EPA Airwatch website, and you can see that the quality of the air in the graph in the bottom left hand corner pretty much for the last 24, 30 hours on the photo was good. It was green, and then as that polluted smoke air came down in the early hours of Saturday morning, the next day you can see it goes to air pour, and you can also see the effects of the air pollution across all the other sites around northeast Melbourne, all down to moderate in terms of air quality. So if we head over to the Victorian Smoke and Respiratory Issues Facebook page and scroll down, we can see that The Guardian has just put out an article that air pollution likely to increase coronavirus death rate, warns the experts. So the government organised a Clean Air Summit a few years back. Many community members and other people put in submissions. There were 78 submissions, over 650 suggested actions, and these were put into categories. Biomass burning was fuel reduction, logging coop burns, and wood fire heaters and things like that. And the most of the suggestions were in the biomass burning, over about 140 of them. And it was really made clear to the EPA and to Forest Fire Management Victoria and the government that the community were confused about being told that these burns were fuel reduction burns for their safety, when in fact most of the smoke was coming from industrial logging, and that they should do something about this. So if we go back to the EPA's website and check out the description of why that poor air quality occurred back in Mooroolbark and Melbourne and Central, and they say moderate air quality is forecast for Saturday. Some locally poor conditions may occur due to planned fuel reduction burns. Now we know from the table of figures that 75% of the smoke came from industrial logging burns. Minister Lily D'Ambrosio is responsible for the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning, who oversee Forest Fire Management Victoria, who do the industrial logging burns. She's also responsible for the EPA, and the Forest Fire Management Victoria are exempt from EPA scrutiny. It's outside of their jurisdiction. So this appears to be quite a conflict of interest. Jacqueline Symes is the Minister responsible for managing Vic Forest. Vic Forest is a government business enterprise which is funded by the taxpayer to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars to subsidise the logging operations which run at a loss, which underpins the raw materials supply chain to places like Nippon Paper to make reflex copy paper. And of course the Ash Hayfield sawmill, which collapsed due to lack of sawlog volume, which was bought out by taxpayers for about $50 million under Daniel Andrews. So out of all of the mills in Victoria, this mill, the Hayfield mill, is a CFMEU unionised mill. So the existing monitoring stations that the EPA have are shown in green. They're quite in a suburb. The aim of this GoFundMe campaign is so that we can buy one, or if not more, of these $1,200 units and put them where these red stars are, which is Talangi, Healesville, Warburton, out where the industrial logging is taking place, so that we can get more 24 hours earlier warning about pollution and smoke impact, and warn communities so that we can take action and protect ourselves against this industrial logging pollution. So the data is now disappearing off the EPA website after about 24 hours, and the aim of this project is to buy these kind of outdoor monitoring stations that are going to be live. Public are going to be able to access the information. The data's not going to disappear. We're going to be able to warn people about dangerous smoke. So please get behind this campaign, dig deep. Every $1,200 that we get, we're going to be able to buy another one of these valuable monitoring stations, and the data will be available to the public. Thank you so much for your support.